It is always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. Thanks for listening in or watching us on YouTube. We always appreciate it. And of course, we're brought to you locally by Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling systems. Daryl, another day in paradise as far as the Browns are concerned as we inch a little bit closer to the Baltimore Ravens. And the big talk at camp today about who will play left guard. Would you say that was the biggest story?
You mean left tackle?
Left tackle. See, it was so big that I forgot what position it was. Left tackle.
This is not the right time for the Browns offensive line to be in shambles, which it is. The loss of Jedrick Wills for the next 4 to 6 weeks is pretty sizable. James Hudson is going to have to step in. They've got DeJuan Jones, who did not practice because he's got shoulder and knee injuries that he's dealing with. So he didn't practice on Wednesday. Like, this is the wrong damn time for this offensive line to be beat up because the Baltimore Ravens will kick the crap out of them if they're not at full strength. That front with Baltimore is really, really good. It might be better than the Browns front, and the Browns front is really, really good. So it's the worst possible time for the Browns to have the offensive line in shambles. Joel Bitonio didn't practice either. Not too concerned about that. He usually gets Wednesdays off. But DeJuan Jones not being able to practice, I think, scraps the idea that, hey, you're going to move him to the left side, have him play left tackle, have James Hudson play right tackle. We heard from Wyatt Teller, who kind of explained to us today just how difficult that is to ask of Jones to do, to go from the right side to the left side. Of course, Hudson's been doing it. He played some right tackle on Sunday, played some left tackle on Sunday, and that went over the Cardinals. So, yeah, they're in really, really bad shape up front right now, Andy.
Daryl, what did Wyatt say? I'm curious because I've been thinking about this all day. How hard is it?
Well, I mean, he just explained that it's hard because your technique is opposite. Like you have to remember that your footwork is opposite. Your hand placement is opposite. So it can be done. It has been done, but like for a guy like DeJuan Jones, he needs reps doing it though. You know what I'm saying? Like, they had been training him basically at right tackle through most of the offseason and training camp and stuff like that. And so when Jack Conklin got hurt in week 1, suffered that season-ending knee injury, like DeJuan was at least able to step in effectively, I think in part because that's where he had been working. So now if you want to have this conversation about, hey, let's move DeJuan over to the blind side to protect Deshaun's blind side now and have James Hudson over on the right side because DeJuan is the better player. Well, I just and the fact that DeJuan is now banged up, I just think that complicates everything, don't you?
Yeah, so my question then is when Kevin Stefanski was talking at the press conference today about we have options. I mean, they kind of don't have options, do they?
No.
I think you got to go play it straight.
No, they don't. Like, they don't have options. They really don't. To me, those are your options.
Well, I think the other part of the question is what is it? Jerron Christian, Leroy Watson, who they just got in. They've got Alex Leatherwood and Justin Murray. So Leatherwood and Murray are on the practice squad. My problem is it's the Ravens this week, right? That's the hard part.
Yeah,
it's the Ravens this week.
Here's what the Browns are going to be facing. Front page of the Ravens notes. I won't lie that I'm cheating here. The Baltimore Ravens are number 1 defensively in the following categories. Get your pen and paper out. There will be a test. Sacks with 35. Offensive TDs allowed, just 9. Points per game allowed, 13.8. Yards per play, 4.08. Red zone touchdown percentage, 33.3%. Opposing quarterback rating, 69.7. Yards per pass allowed, 5.5. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you can throw the Brown stats in there with a rookie quarterback. They help them. They help them a little bit. My question for you is, how did the Colts beat them? What didn't they do? Like, what could the Browns learn from that from the Colts win over the Ravens. But more importantly than that, what do you think the Browns learned about themselves when they got beat by the Ravens?
Well,
defensively, I'm not even talking about offensively. I'm talking about defensively, because that was the first time they were really susceptible to the run.
Well, not only that, and Baltimore's been running the ball really, really well of late too, which is scary. But the Browns have been pretty good defending the run, so that's a little bit of an intriguing matchup. But
I mean, part of it is you could say I'm not trying to make excuses, but because the offense was so bad against them, that the defense spent a lot of time on the field against the Ravens that game, and that leads to part of it.
They had to defend short fields too, right?
Right.
So I think that factors in, but I was kind of optimistic going into this week,
and now you're not.
And all of a sudden, I'm not optimistic at all.
All because of the offensive line. It's all because of the offensive line, or just because you started reading numbers?
I think this game comes down to the trenches, and right now, I think the Ravens have the distinct advantage in the trenches.
On both sides of the ball, or it's in particular when the Browns are on offense?
Absolutely on both sides of the ball. And Deshaun's not 100%. Let's be honest about that. And he's not going to be 100% for the rest of the season. He's just, from my perspective, I think he's just trying to gut his way through this rotator cuff injury. And then we'll find out in the offseason if he really does need surgery. But, they're saying he doesn't. They've said that he doesn't. But, and he apparently got through the Cardinals game clean, even though he did take a couple of good shots. He downplayed that in his Wednesday media availability when he was asked specifically about it. Like, hey, you did take some shots. So did you really come out of that okay? And he's like, yeah, sure. I'm fine. It's just football. But you can kind of see, like, and we saw it again on Wednesday where he's shaking that right arm in between throws and stuff like that. So he's not 100% comfortable with things, but he's, I think, as good as he's going to get. And that's why, he's out there. But when I look at this game, man, it worries me. It really does worry me that, the Browns haven't been able to beat the Ravens many times since 1999. And on paper, it doesn't look good.
So the best part about what you're saying right now is you sounded exactly the same way before San Francisco. So maybe this is the week the Ravens lay an egg.
Well, but here's the difference. The Browns didn't have half their offensive line beat up against.
Well, you were already missing one starter. We've been missing a starter for forever. I understand what you're saying.
And your run game hasn't really been all that effective. Like, Kareem and Jerome and Pierre, like, they've been okay. Kareem scoring. The reality is, though, they're averaging less than 4 yards a carry combined. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. I had this conversation with Jamal White the other day about how do you know your running game is effective? Like, what should you ask for out of a running game? With Nick Chubb, you knew you could feel good that you were probably going to get somewhere around 100 yards, if not more. And then you throw in another back there, you're probably up to like 125, 130, somewhere in there. And I said, give me a number. Give me a number about the running backs that you should feel confident that if your running backs, no matter how many you have, can hit this number, good things are going to happen. And he's like, 50 yards back when you got three backs. I agree with you. I think it's going to be difficult for even one of those guys to get 50 yards against the Ravens, let alone three. So unless you bust off a big run or something like that happens. So I think when you're trying to dissect this and try to figure out, okay, this is the plan of attack the Browns are going to have to use. Because I agree with you with Deshaun not being healthy, which means you're probably going to go to a conservative offense, which means you're probably going to be trying to throw the ball, 5 to 10 yards on every throw, if you're going to throw, or you're going to try to set up screens, or you're going to try to just get a little bit at a time. I just don't see them being able to get the big. Even though he had a couple nice long throws against Arizona, I just think, man, the Ravens DBs are just so much better than Arizona's.
Yeah. I agree with that. Now, the good news for the Browns is they've got one of the best secondaries in the NFL. But Greg Newsome's hurt, and he didn't practice on Wednesday, and he's hoping to get out there. But, and Cameron Mitchell's on injured reserve. So now all of a sudden that is being challenged, right? Your depth in your secondary is really being challenged. So, Baltimore came to town missing what felt like 22 guys, and they came out with a dominating 28-3 win. But that was because Dorian Thompson-Robinson got thrown to the wolves, and that was what it was. But yeah, this is going to be a tough matchup for the Browns. I have no illusions that they're winning the division. I know that's, big hot topic, right? Oh, the division's on the line. No, not really. Browns aren't winning the AFC North. I mean, look,
well, I'm not going to sit here and say they're not going to win, but I agree with you. The percentages are in your way. All right, Daryl, when we come back, I want to bring up a question that you brought up today when you were having your media availability, and we'll bring that up when we come back. It was a very interesting question about the offense. So we'll do that when we come back. It's always game day in Cleveland.